our prices are going to go up, but apparently so is our energy prices, maybe being caused by the impact of what's going on. Joining us now from our Westminster studios, I think we've got GB News' economics and business editor, Liam Halligan. Hello there, Liam. This could be bad news for energy prices.
Indeed, Anne. Look, what happened yesterday, where you had the hijacking of a ship in the Straits of Hormuz in the gates to the Persian Gulf, that's a real escalation of this situation. Up until now, we've had attacks by Houthi rebels on shipping going through the Red Sea into the Suez Canal. The Suez Canal, which links the Middle East with the Mediterranean and European markets, of course, accounts for around 10% of all global oil flows every day. The Straits of Hormuz into the Persian Gulf, where we saw the escalation in tensions yesterday with the hijacking of that tanker, that accounts for 25% of all global oil flows. So there's a lot of concern on global energy markets that this escalation is going to lead to an increase in the price of crude oil, an increase in the price of gas as well, because an awful lot of liquefied natural gas is shipped out of the Persian Gulf, not least from Qatar. And that's why there is concern that this could see, unfortunately, an escalation in petrol prices, in diesel prices, an escalation in the price of freight shipping in general, which would really muddy the waters, if you like. We're in a situation where inflation's coming down, where interest rates are expected to come down. We've already seen interest rates come down sharply for home loans, mortgages, other personal and business loans. If this Middle East tension really escalates, if the current situation isn't nipped in the bud quite soon, then we will see a reversal of that narrative, unfortunately, in the Western world. A reversal of the idea that prices are going to be easing soon and the cost of living crisis coming to an end. And that will affect, I'm afraid, all of us.
Yeah, which would be particularly bad news off the latest GDP figures. I mean, I know they're sort of positive, 0.3% growth in November, but I mean, it's effectively flat.
It is indeed, Steve, and I think that's exactly right. That's well put. You know, I came into the Westminster studio this morning to talk about those GDP numbers that came out at 7 a.m, and it's telling that actually we're talking about geopolitics, aren't we? We're talking about Houthi rebels and drone strikes and so on. All this is interlinked. Let's just have a think about those GDP numbers. They were pretty positive. We had a 0.3% contraction in GDP. That's the overall size of the economy, all the transactions in the economy. We had a 0.3% contraction, a shrinkage in October. And then, as you say, we had a 0.3% increase in November. So basically flat. That's pretty good, really, given that a lot of the Western world is already in recession. The Eurozone is in recession. America's doing a lot better, of course, because America has much cheaper energy these days than Europe. Why did we see an expansion of GDP in November? It was basically the service sector. It was basically Black Friday. It was basically retail sales. Some of that increased shopping was off the back of people, maxing out their credit cards, remortgaging their homes and so on, as the housing market looks to be a little bit stronger. But look, going back to this geopolitical situation, if we do see a spike in energy prices, then that clearly is going to impact the economy more broadly. We know the Tories are looking for a return of the sort of economic feel-good factor. We know that's why they're talking about an election in the autumn rather than in the spring, allowing the positive benefits of lower interest rates, lower inflation to come through. But again, if we see an escalation of these geopolitical tensions in the Middle East, let alone Russia, Ukraine, crikey, we haven't even mentioned that, then all those political bets will be off. This will upend British politics. I'm not saying this is going to happen. It may be that it will be okay. One good aspect of this is that the oil price over the last 24 hours hasn't really spiked. It's gone up by about 2 or 3%, approaching $80 a barrel. It was more like $70 before Christmas. And why is that happening? Because the US is telling oil traders around the world they are pumping out oil from their strategic petroleum reserve, oil that they keep in reserve to try and calm down markets. And significantly, Anne and Steve, The Saudis, who in many ways are the linchpin global oil supplier of the world, they're at the centre of that OPEC energy exporters cartel. The Saudis, who've been trying to jack up oil prices over recent years by limiting supply, they are also telling the world that they are flooding global markets with oil as we speak in order to try and keep prices calm. Why are they doing that? Because the last thing the Saudis want, the last thing the big oil exporters want, is the world to go into recession, for the global economy to go back into permafrost, if you like. So there are aspects of this geopolitical situation which could lead to a spike in energy prices, but there are other aspects, Anne and Steve, that will see energy prices remaining relatively benign. And so far, we've got to hang on to this hope. So far, energy prices haven't spiked. They haven't reacted massively adversely to this escalation in geopolitical tensions, but we wait and see.